Yeah, you see the topic up there, and you probably say to yourself, could it be? Excuse me for a second. I don't know what this cat's doing. She's playing a game. Yeah, sorry about that. This cat here is playing games. I don't know if she wants out or what. Um, Sorry about the interruption here. Excuse me for a second. Sorry about that interruption, but like I was trying to say at the beginning, you pretty much see the title up there. It's a question, and I'm probably going to write this down best I can. Um, but the question is, are the Sonic fans writing better stories than the head writers? In other words, are the Sonic fans, it might say something different up there. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people flacking me about this, but the question is, are the Sonic fans writing better stories than the head writer? In other words, better than Ian Flynn. Now, again, I know I'll get some people flacking me about it and saying, you are out of your fucking mind, dude. Ian Flynn's one of the best out there. He's the best thing that's happened to the comic, and so on and so forth. And you know what? I don't disagree with anybody. I don't. It's your opinion, and you are right. He has done some good for the comic. As much as I sometimes hate to admit it, he has done some good. And I know as much as anybody else that may not like what he's currently doing in the comic hates to admit it, they got to admit that he's done some good. Now, the reason I asked the question, though, is because you got to say to yourself, you got to start thinking to yourself, could it be possible that if an average fan, just like Ian was offered the chance he was offered, do you think they could do better? You know, you take a look and you read all these fan fiction stories, just like what Ian used to do before he went on board. And you say to yourself, wow. After reading some of these fan fiction stories, you're like, wow, these are really interesting. These are really good. I'm really invested in this story. I'm really invested in the characters. It makes you think that perhaps those people have a chance at being the next head writer of not just Sonic comic books over at Archie or any of the Archie books, but of comics like Marvel's comics at Marvel, comics by DC, Image, you name it. But it makes you think, it makes you wonder if they could do better. I'll give you a prime example, and you may think this is silly. You go to the fanfiction.net, and one of the things I've noticed with fan artists, if you will, and you know, is sometimes they'll do good and sometimes they will do bad. There's no doubt about it. Dan Dreisen is one of the biggest or one of the most well-known fan fiction writers out there, and he's done some good stories. Some, according to some people, some of the stories, according to several people, have been kind of controversial. I think there's one where somebody said he wrote a story that took two Sonic girls and turned them into lesbians. I don't know which one that is. I gotta look it up again. Um. Anyway, he's done some very good work. Matter of fact, I've printed out some of his stories. I remember printing out and reading When Bunny Meets a Bunny, and when I read it, I thought it was good. I thought this guy has potential. He understands. And it makes you wonder if perhaps if he was given the chance and opportunity, if he could do just as good, if not better, than Ian or even Ken Penders at that time when I read the story. And then you got other people out there. You got Laser X5, believe it or not. And I'm not lying here. You got Laser X5. You know, Laser X5 or Sonic SatAM X93, despite how you feel about them, to me, from what I have read, you know, they are doing an excellent job at giving us an alternative reversion or revising of issue 230. I think they're doing a great job, as much as, you know, some people may not like to hear that. But if you read their alternative revising, you may think otherwise. And of course, you know, there are some others out there. You know, some that are not associated with Sonic, some that are. For example, I'll give you one. You know, he does fan fiction, but he sort of does it kind of like visually. His name's Hurricane 6000 or something like that. He's at DeviantArt. And you may now, the name may sound familiar, it may not, but maybe this will help. Hurricane created and wrote a crossover series. And what that series is called is Sonic GX. In other words, it's a crossover of Sonic X and Sonic SatAM, set in both worlds. It's like in every episode, believe it or not, is either 25 to 30 minutes plus, and that's it. It doesn't go to 40 or anything. It's just about 25 to 30 minutes plus. And they're pretty good. I mean, he doesn't just write what the characters will say. He actually, you know, takes these sprites that he's created and he puts them in that environment. But that's not all. He's even had other fan artists, not writers, artists, allow him to use their artwork for certain scenes in the show, or in certain episodes that he's done, or in his series, I should say. And when you watch this, and believe it or not, you can actually find the series here on YouTube. Ezekiel 300 has it. Jay Foxfire has it, among others. Make sure you find, and here's a suggestion. Make sure you find one that's fully episode. If you find one that's in 2 or 3 parts, that's fine. But my suggestion, try to find one that's full length. But you can find these flash episodes. That's right. It's basically a flash series. You can find it here on YouTube, as well as you can find it at DeviantArt as well. Now, at DeviantArt, what you got to do is basically with any Flash series, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know this with the Flash games as well, is you got to use your mouser to move throughout. Now, thankfully with YouTube, if you could download said episode and then convert it to a file that you could put on YouTube, then so be it. But basically, you got 2 alternatives of watching this fan fiction, fan artistic Flash series. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, the storyline they got going right now would really get you invested. Not to give much away, but let's just say one person from their side, the Freedom Fighter Sonic X side, the Freedom Fighter side, if you will, has been corrupted by evil. And it's even taking Eggman's, it's even taking the help of Eggman, to defeat this evil, if you will. And believe it or not, this whole situation starts in episode 8. So you got to check out episode 8. That's all I'm going to say in case you don't know about it. But again, you look at something like that. You look at some of the people that I've mentioned, and you got to ask yourself whether or not they do a better job. There's somebody right now that's doing a Sonic the Hedgehog 2000 deal. Reese Tales, that I mentioned in my previous video, is doing some fan fiction on DeviantArt, and is doing it in chapters. So it makes you wonder, it makes you think. And you know what? If any of those could get an opportunity, here's a question: who do you think should get that opportunity if it ever arises? Here's another thing. Sometimes a fan fiction writer may not be the best, but sometimes, and what I mean by best is sometimes the typing or the writing may not be, the best. They may get some words mixed up here and there at times, but the stories can be interesting. There's one person called Chaotic Lover. You can find this person over at fanfiction.net. And Chaotic Lover has some very interesting and very unique stories. One of them is, I think, number 2 or number 3 on the list, and it's called, well, I can't think of the title right now, but it involves Sally. And not to give much away, but Sally gained some very special, very unique, very, I guess you could say, very fun superpowers that she uses in battle, and she uses to help her friends, and uses sometimes to be a little mischiefy. You get what I'm saying? Apparently, I guess it takes place sort of like in the GX world, maybe not. I'm not really sure. But it's really funny. You got to check. It's really interesting. I read some of it last night, yesterday to be exact, Saturday night. And I have to say it's really, really interesting. It's really fun. You got to check it out. You have to watch it. You got to check it out. Hold on for a second. Water. Purified water. But again, you got to read this guy. He's pretty good. And believe it or not, you can go to fanfiction.net and you can find Ian Flynn's old stories. You can find them there along with Dan Dreiser and a few others. You can even find me. That's right. I think you can even find me there. But the thing is, folks, the question I have is, could any fan fiction writers do better than the head writer? Because I think it's a question that a lot of people would like to see answered. I'm not saying it's a challenge. I'm just asking you, do you think it's true? Again, I know there will be some people that will flack me and say, look, you're out of your mind. No one, all those people that you've mentioned can't hold a candle to Ian. And you know what? That might be true. But then again, it may not be. I mean, I give Ian credit. When he was a fan, he wrote one of the most darkest and probably the most complex, and if not violent, Sonic stories any fan fiction or any Sonic fan or any fan fiction fan artist fan fiction writer or fan artist could ever have done with Other M. And again, I understand that some people may agree that other fan fiction writers out there could do better than Ian because they feel that's the direction Ian's going with the comic is the Other M direction. But we got to give him the benefit of the doubt, though, folks. We got to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not going in that direction. But again, though, it makes you think. It makes you wonder. It makes you question if perhaps there are those out there that could do better. I mean, again, I know I'll get people flacking me about it. I know I'll get some people commenting towards me saying that I'm an idiot, I'm a jerk, that I don't know what I'm talking about. But you know what? Maybe I do. Because, again, fan fiction writers and artists can do a pretty good job. You take a look. Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a guy. His code name is, well, it's not his code name, but one of his internet names is Fish. His real name is Chris, but one of his internet names is Fish. And he created a very epic webcomic that he wrote and drew himself called Of Mice and Mayhem. And if you have not checked it out, check it out. It is good. It'll keep you on the edge of your seats. It is one of the best fan works I've ever read. Period. So again, it makes you think and it makes you wonder if perhaps a fan artist, or not a fan artist, but a fan fiction writer can do better. I'm not saying they can't, and I'm not saying they can. Because, people, again, will flack me, and they will say, look, Ian Flynn's the best thing going today. And, he just may be, but he's not the only writer out there. He's not the only fan fiction writer out there that has gotten an opportunity or could get an opportunity. People got to remember that. Ian Flynn was a fan fiction writer himself, and he's gotten the opportunity that not many out there get. He's writing and working. He's writing for a comic book while working for he's writing for several comic books. He's writing several comic books, I should say, for a major comic book publication. For one of the top three, if you will. The top three being DC, Marvel, and Archie. So he has an opportunity right now in front of him working on several comics, penning several comics for one of the top three comic book publications out there. One of the top comic book companies out there. And again, we cannot misjudge him on that or anything. But if he can get an opportunity like that, being a fan himself and a fan fiction writer at first, then who's to say that whoever gets an opportunity next can't be just as good, if not better? Again, those that I have mentioned, you should check those stories out. But again, it's a question. It is a question that I pose to you, and to you, and to you, and to you out there. I pose that question. Do you think fan fiction writers are better than the head writer? Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll talk to y'all later.